Hello and welcome to TeamTalk. I'm Liam Gibbs and I've been joined by BBC Radio Lincolnshire's Rob Makepeace and Mark Whiley from the Lincolnshire Echo to talk all things Lincoln City today. The Imps made it 3 wins on the bounce with Saturday's 2-0 victory at Yeovil. Strikers Matt Green and Matt Reid both scored as Danny Cowley's men moved up to 6th in the League 2 table. Chaps, it sounded a solid away performance.
Yeah, fantastic away performance really in the circumstance on a bitterly cold afternoon. Danny Cowley was full of respect for Yeovil before the game. He felt that opposing teams hadn't given Yeovil the respect they deserved before games, but they won the battle and 2 great goals in the second half from Matt Green and Matt Reid, and it's terrific to see those two on the score sheet. And to think a few weeks ago we were talking about the lack of goals, well, they've really turned that on its head over the last month. There's certainly no shortage of goals at the moment.
And Rob, it's key for the strikers have now started finding their scoring boots again.
Yeah, definitely. It fills you with confidence, doesn't it? And it fills the strikers with confidence. Matt Green, the goal he scored, it's a chance he would have missed a couple of weeks ago because his confidence was low. But now, 3 in his last 3? You know, he's a player on form. Matt Reid, linking up well with Matt Green, they seem to have formed a good partnership as well, which is key. I think the struggle for Lincoln this season has been finding the right combination up front, whether that's been Billy not in behind, Ollie Palmer with one of the two, Elliot Whitehouse knows played in behind, but they seem to have found a good partnership between Reid and Green back from the Mansfield days, and it's working.
Do you think it helps that they do know each other from Mansfield and that's maybe helped them rekindle that partnership?
I think so. I think it's really handy. They've played with each other before, they've trained with each other before, and I think it just takes a bit of time to get going, and they didn't have much time at the start of the season. I know they didn't play too much together at the start of the season, but now they've got a regular run of games. It's really helping.
And Mark, at the other end of the pitch, another clean sheet, and Luke Waterfall and Sean Raggett now seems to be the centre-half pairing of choice.
Yeah, it's been a tough start to the season for Luke Waterfall. Obviously a lot of interest in him in the summer. He signed a new contract, but then he lost his place to Rob Dickey. But he's come back into the side, and it looks like how they were playing last season. They've been outstanding. They've been a threat from set pieces. It's been more difficult from set pieces for them this season going forward because teams in this level are a lot more organised. But looking really solid. And Danny's been wanting a few more clean sheets for all the good performance over the last few weeks. And last few weeks it was good to get one as well. And Yeovil didn't really have too many chances, and Josh Vickers didn't have a lot to do.
But as good as that partnership are looking now, Rob, there's that looming now with Sean Raggett, who's going to go back to Norwich in January. Do you think the Imps can then get him back again for the rest of the season?
It remains to be seen. I'm sure Danny's got irons in the fire of whether Sean stays or Sean goes. Obviously, Luke Waterfall will be disappointed to lose Sean. Having built a good partnership up. Rob Dickey's available and there as a possibility. There'll be defenders galore, I'm sure, available in the transfer window. It'll be about getting the right people in. But I think that's the one area in January where there is uncertainty for Lincoln. That's the one area where you do worry a little bit. You know, everywhere else there's positions where you can cover, but centre half at the moment, just because you don't know whether Sean's staying, Sean's going, what's going to happen.
He's been key, of course, Mark, in getting the Imps up now to 6th in the table. Is that ahead of schedule, do you think, to be that high in the table? Yeah,
very much ahead of schedule. I think Danny would have been more than happy going into the Christmas period, 10th or 11th. I think if memory serves me correctly, he would have been quite happy being 5 or 6 points off the playoffs going into the midway point of the season. Well, they're well ahead of schedule at the moment. And the great thing is there's room for improvement as well, both from the current group and also we're going to have players coming in January. I'm really excited about the second half of the season. As Rob says, the Sean Raggett situation's a little bit uncertain. I think they just need to plan as if he's not coming back. They don't want to get to the end of January wondering what's going to happen with him. Obviously, the plan was for him to go back and play in the FA Cup for Norwich. Norwich are playing Chelsea, so that plan I imagine is going to have to be reviewed, but I'm sure he'll be going back to Norwich at some point in January. It just depends if they decide to keep him until the end of the season, and I think they have to view it as a bonus if he does come back, and they need to sort of plan without him now.
It's so congested though, Rob, in the middle of the table. I think there's only 3 points separating 5th and 12th, so a couple of losses for Lincoln. They could be right back down in the middle again.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw with the win on Saturday what a boost he gave to City and moving up to 6th in the table. So there's a lot of teams in and around it. We saw this weekend Exeter getting beat by Colchester, which nobody would have expected. I know Acton's game was off. The top two drew with each other. So although they had started to pull away, they could suddenly be pulled back into it. And as you say, there's so many teams in the middle, so many teams as well, like Lincoln, who feel we can strengthen in January. It's not just going to be Lincoln who are going to be strengthening in January. There'll be 23 other teams exactly trying to do the same thing. So that's going to be a real challenge for the Imps and for Danny Cowley to make sure that they beat off the competition to get the right players into the football club, so they're the side that are going strong come the end of January and not their rivals.
Looking ahead to next week then, it's Accrington again. What can the Imps learn from the Checkatrade Trophy win against Accrington last week?
Well, I think they learned that Accrington are a very strong side, very well organised side, and I'm really looking forward to it on Saturday because the Checkatrade game was absolutely fantastic, one of the best games we've seen this season. Two strong sides going at it hell for leather, and with what's at stake, given that Accrington are third in the table, Imps sixth, it's got all the ingredients for a great game. But I really wouldn't fancy being an Accrington player on Saturday because you're going to have 8,000-9,000 Lincoln fans, well, barely any Accrington fans, maybe 100 or so if you're lucky. It's going to be a terrific atmosphere, and a win on Saturday would really set City up for the Christmas period.
It's a big game, isn't it, Rob? If you take 4 wins into that busy Christmas period, it takes you with great momentum.
Yeah, definitely. And as Mark said, with Accrington being in third, closes that gap to the automatic promotion spots. And then there's some big games coming up in and around the Christmas and New Year period as well. Teams that you'd think you'd beat the likes of Forest Green, but not necessarily, because they'll suddenly pick up a few results you might think. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a tough December, there's no doubt in that. Every game you come up to seems to be tough in this league. But if Lincoln can get that home win again against Accrington and make the most of having those 8,000 fans against sides like Accrington, who are definitely not used to playing in front of those crowds, then I think Lincoln will be in a really strong position heading into Christmas Day.
And a tough start to the new year as well, because Luton away on New Year's Day, it doesn't get much tougher than that.
Yeah, that is going to be tough. I mean, Luton do seem to be the outstanding side in the division. I'm sure Notts County would have something to say about that. But as strong as Luton are, they're not unbeatable. Lincoln gave them a very good game at the start of the season. But yeah, really looking forward to that one. But there's some very much winnable games coming up before that as well. I mean, Forest Green, which will be a bit tasty on the 30th, Stevenage, and then the trip to Newport just before Christmas. Some really good games coming up, and I see no reason why City can't pick up 6, 7, 8 points in that period.
High as the Imps are flying though, Rob, there's still issues to sort out, notably the pitch at Sinsel Bank. What happened there on Tuesday?
Yeah, speaking to Danny Cowley last week, he said it was something to do with laying the winter seed for the rest of the season, trying to get the grass to grow for the rest of the season, and to have it set in, they had to put the sand on. It seemed like a miscommunication really between the ground staff and Danny Cowley, and it's a shame really, because there's a real Team Lincoln. That's what the success was built around last year, Team Lincoln, with everybody involved. So hopefully it gets sorted. Obviously they've had a week. They'll have a week and a half between that Tuesday when the sand was on the pitch to the Saturday against Accrington. So I think hopefully when we go to Sinsel Bank at the weekend, that will all be sorted and the pitch will be looking in good nick.
It did clearly irritate Danny Cowley though, especially after the game.
Yeah, I was quite surprised that he came out and was critical of the pitch actually. But I think if they'd lost the game, he wouldn't have said anything. Well, he said that himself actually. So it was a bit tricky, the conditions, but fair play to both sets of players, because despite how difficult the pitch was, it was a fantastic game. So, but Danny's addressed it. I'm sure he's spoken to the ground staff about it, and I don't think it'll be an issue going forward.
And that win, of course, has led to Rochdale away in the next round of the Checkatrade Trophy. What do you make of the draw?
It's a difficult draw, but Rochdale have got bigger things to worry about, mainly League One survival, and also they've got FA Cup that weekend. So we're expecting the game to be the weekend after the FA Cup third round. So I'm sure Rochdale will be looking at the third round. I think they've got Doncaster possibly. I'm not too sure if they've got in the third round. But they'll be looking at that game and thinking, well, we've got a big game, or they've got a league game, sorry, I think. I don't know if it's League or FA Cup, but they'll be looking at that game going, we've got a Saturday, whereas Lincoln have got a blank Saturday at the moment, with the Mansfield game being off. So that's what they'll be looking at. They'll be looking at Rochdale will be concentrating on the FA Cup, you'd think, and the league form, whereas Lincoln has only got the Checkatrade Trophy remaining.
It's a competition that the Imps have now set their sights on going really far in.
Yeah, I mean, whatever people think about the competition, the club and Danny and the players are taking it very, very seriously. Speaking to Ollie Palmer after that Accrington game, he's got his eyes fixed firmly on Wembley at the moment. And I just think it's not a bad draw for Lincoln. As Rob says, Dale have got other fish to fry. I think I'll just approach it like they have done in the previous rounds. There'll be 1 or 2 changes because they've got an important league game against Notts County coming up the following Saturday. But they can really go at it, and I genuinely think that's a winnable tie.
And it's still a long way off, of course, but what would it mean for the club to get to Wembley?
They've never done it, so it would mean everything. It would be a bit tainted because of the whole boycott situation. But I'm sure that the Lincolnshire public will come out in force to watch Lincoln at Wembley. They're not far away now. There's going to be some tough games. Obviously, after this round, it goes to a national draw rather than a regional draw, which opens up some even tougher games that are than the ones in the northern section. But as I say, not far away at all now. If Lincoln can get some good results, and we've seen last season in the FA Cup they can get results against teams in higher leagues, then there's no doubt, and there's an opportunity for Lincoln to reach Wembley for the first time.
You mentioned the boycott there. If Lincoln do get to Wembley, do you think fans will start coming back, or do you think the boycott will carry on?
I think some will, some won't. Some people just decided they just don't want no part of the competition, but I think for some people the lure of going to Wembley for the first time in the club's history would be too great to resist. And yeah, I'm not sure how much the boycott has had an effect on attendances really, because they've still been very good in the competition. Over
still been pretty much the highest.
Over 3,000. When we would have killed for going to 3,000 a couple of years ago. I think the closer they get, I think they'll get even higher. And if they got to Wembley, I think we'd be looking at taking 15,000-20,000 there, because it would just bring all sorts of people out like the cup run did last year. So I think we'd see huge numbers going to Wembley if we got there.
Well, thanks for joining me today, guys. We've got all that to look forward to in the new year, but that's all we've got time for this week. From all of us here, have a very good Christmas. We'll be back in the new year, and fingers crossed the Imps can continue their good form. Goodbye.